Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk about some terrifying things that I hallucinated in my teen years. I haven't hallucinated for a long time. I'm 25, haven't hallucinated in 5 years. At least not anything significant any more than the usual. A misinterpretation of a sound or a misunderstanding, things like that, or something my eyes kind of played a trick on me through. But as a teenager, I hallucinated quite a few terrifying things, and here are some of the top ones I hallucinated. Since I basically started experiencing the side effects of schizophrenia around the age of 15 due to drug and alcohol use, not to mention the hallucinogens later on that added on to the effect that produced some of the most terrifying things. But I think I'd like to start with the one that I saw the most. As I think starting 15, 16, 17, I wasn't prescribed sleep medication or properly medicated for schizophrenia, so I hallucinated some terrible things while I was trying to sleep. I remember looking up at the ceiling when it was, dim to partially dark, or complete blackness, which was the worst. This has happened the most when it was in complete blackness. But I would look up at the ceiling and I would see hair just going across the ceiling in strands. Terrifying. And not to mention, there would be eyes popping out of the hair all over the ceiling, especially in the corners, grow out of the corners. And this made it very hard to sleep, as you can imagine. And I really think that I became afraid of this when I saw, I think it was either The Ring or The Grudge. It was probably The Grudge, around the age of 15 or 16. And after seeing that movie, if I'm correct about which movie it was, I became terribly afraid of it. So, unfortunately, as a schizophrenic, the things that I was terribly afraid of, I would say, I wish or I hope I don't see this, and then automatically I would see it. So this isn't the case for all schizophrenics or even a portion, but this is some weird psychotic episode that was on repeat for me, like almost every night for a long time. Just looking up at the ceiling and seeing this hair going across it and seeing these eyes pop out, and simply not being able to sleep for obvious reasons. And this is why that I'm still partially afraid of the dark even now. Not nearly as much as I was, but I still kind of expect it. There's a part of me that thinks that, oh God, I really hope this doesn't happen again, even though that was years ago. Moving on, I think another terrifying thing that I saw frequently would be a short white figure, something like a little girl in a white dress, out of the corner of my eye, and I would turn, she wouldn't be there. This was terrible. This happened not as frequently as the hair and the eyes coming out, but this happened often, and it makes one not even want to have any dark portion in a room. Even if it wasn't dark, I'd see it out of the corner of my eye, and it makes one completely paranoid for a large portion of the time you're awake. Not to mention the nightmares, but I don't really consider that something I saw, more something that happened in a dream. But this little girl would just be standing there looking at me out of the corner of my eye, then I would turn, she wouldn't be there. Sometimes it would be a short white deer, which wasn't nearly as terrifying, but still kind of terrifying. You see a little white deer out of the corner of your eye, you look, it's not there. Little girl's the worst. Still afraid of little Japanese girls, probably because The Grudge. That movie scarred me, it really did, especially for a schizophrenic that didn't know he was schizophrenic, to start seeing stuff from that movie. Ugh. Not fun at all. Another thing that I still can hallucinate now, but it's more not having my eyes open. If I do not take my sleep medication, I can actually see something like the, I wish I could remember, but the ink blots that one sees when they're taking a psych evaluation. The psychiatrist takes out one ink blot, what do you see, does another one, and I can see that on the back of my eyes when my eyes are closed. And then it'll start feeling like my whole body is moving into those forms. Like my whole body is becoming those ink blots. And that can still happen now if I don't take my sleep medication. And that kept me from sleeping for a long time. So, these things piled on. And when they piled on, I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, so I started to hallucinate more. It was a terrible few years. Probably 15, 16, 17 were the worst years as far as hallucinations go. As far as a lot of things go, actually. But, and then some drug abuse did not help. Probably another scary thing that was drug induced, but wasn't as scary sounding as it was in real life. And I remember back in probably when I was 16, I'd taken about 5 grams of mushrooms, and I went to the mall, and this made me completely paranoid because I was always schizophrenic, but it made everything really bright. I walked around the mall several times, and everything was just bright as goddamn hell, and it ingrained itself in my mind like this like colorful painting of lights and people and shops, just on repeat because the mall was a circle, and yeah, it was way too bright to be reality, and that had an effect on me too. It's kind of terrifying. I think the last one that I'll talk about is one that I didn't experience, but about 6-7 days when I was in rehab. I was in rehab for a couple different things. Once again, 16, 17. And I remember not being able to sleep, obviously, but the reason why these experiences were so much worse is that I was actually over-medicated while I was in there. I was medicated to such an extent that, let's call this bottom of a circle. Let's call it the need for medication. Medication can bring you up. You're alright. You can act normal. Even more, you're really good. But when it starts going on a descent, it's kind of like it becomes, from a circle, it becomes a spiral, and it starts going lower than even what you experienced when you were hallucinating, when you needed medication. That's what happened to me. I was dosed with so much Seroquel, just a large amount. They're supposed to prescribe it in maybe 10, 20 milligram doses on average, but I was getting 600 to 800. It was just too much. It actually made me hallucinate more, on top of withdrawal from alcohol and another thing. But as I was laying in bed in rehab, as I was laying in this just blank room by myself, I opened my eyes and I was trying to sleep, and I saw these vines going up the wall. Then I saw this little door form. Then I saw kind of some barbed wire going up the wall as well. That was okay. It was still scary, but not terrifying. But it got bad when I started seeing basically zombie-like dead people walking around the bed, walking around the whole room. There's probably like 15 to 20 of them just walking around the room. And every time I closed my eyes and opened them again, they'd be gone, but I see this dark figure above me looking at me, then it'd be gone maybe a second after I saw it. And I remember walking around just trying to calm my mind down, and I walked by the bathroom, and there was a guy. I hallucinated, it wasn't literal, but there was this guy hanging by, I don't know, a rope or a sheet, something like that, from the shower faucet, the shower head, and didn't go in the bathroom. Obviously, that was probably the worst out of all these experiences that happened basically nightly for a lot of nights. But I had to leave my room and then walk around, and people were wondering why I was walking around because nurses and guards and stuff are constantly watching you. But yeah, that experience really left an imprint on me. The seeing zombies walking around, that was terrifying. Seeing the hair across the ceiling. I wouldn't recommend messing around with hallucinogens, especially acid. Mushrooms too, but especially acid. They can leave a lasting impact on you, and they can actually alter your brain chemistry. So I wouldn't recommend messing around with them. I also wouldn't recommend drinking too much alcohol. I mean, for me, if I drink a little bit, I end up drinking too much. And I still drink too much from time to time. But when you abuse a multitude of drugs, they alter your brain chemistry, and sometimes if you use them long enough, they alter it permanently. They didn't give me schizophrenia, but they brought it out a lot sooner than it should have. It should have come out 21, 22, came out 15. And I got the full brunt of the side effects before anybody knew I was schizophrenic. It runs in my father's family, but there wasn't a lot of going to the doctor in their family or the psychiatrist, so they didn't really know about it or know how to gauge it or know what it was. But hallucinating is not fun because it makes you question your grasp of reality. Like, these things seem so real, and everyday life seems so real. Which one is true? Are they both true, or is one of them false? And it plays with your very idea of who you are and how you exist and existence itself. And honestly, I've been able to turn it around a lot better than a lot of people have. A lot of people end up killing themselves, or just falling into depression, or basically just going insane and not being able to come back. I came back in a way that a lot of people that I met just didn't, and really can't. It's not even their fault. And even if they used drugs and made schizophrenia worse, this underlying schizophrenia was terrible. Even if somebody doesn't have schizophrenia and they made their mind like this because of drugs, it's not something I wish on anybody. They'd have to be a really bad person like Stalin or Hitler in order for me to wish something like that on anybody, because that is an effect on your perception that can break your life, especially if it's on repeat. It can break your life, it can break you, and you'll become somebody that will never reach his true potential. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of people don't, because of these things, because they end up hallucinating because of schizophrenia, because they can't come back to reality from the delusions that they have in schizophrenia, and it destroys everything they could have been. And I gotta say, if you experience this, please seek help. Please seek a psychiatrist's help, and honestly a counselor as well, because a counselor is going to help you work through it. A psychiatrist is going to give you the right meds, but a psychiatrist a lot of time isn't enough, because the meds are what maybe stop the hallucinations, but as far as you dealing with it, you're going to need a counselor. But that's basically ending on a sad note, which is kind of funnier at the start, because I look back at these memories with not a lot of pain or sadness or anger or anything like that. I'm over a lot of these things, but a lot of people aren't. So if you're not over these things and you're experiencing them, please seek help. And I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of information. That's kind of a strange video for me to do, because it's very specific to what I experienced. But thank you for watching. If you want to see more like this, more videos like this, or you want to see more ideas like this played with, feel free to like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you want to know about, any questions you have about what I went through, and I'll surely post videos, or I'll respond in the comment section. But thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to y'all later.